Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Your home for all content, Lord of the Rings home. I'm on the right side today because we're going to go over the raids. Specifically, I think we're going to go through the kits of the characters in Chapter 1. We're going to read them, and then we're going to come up with some strategies, I think, to try and see what's the best way to go about this. So this video is going to be mostly about raid stuff, and then tomorrow I'll do a video. Now that the update has been implemented, we'll go through some of the update stuff. But you should be able to see that the Palantir that is for the raids is unlocked. It looks like it's you get a max of 2,500 keys that you can kind of store up, but it's about 2,000 to launch this raid, okay? And it looks like you have about 9 that you can get per day. So you get 1 from the arena, you get 1 from guild battles, I believe, and 1 from doing the challenges, and you get 3 from each. So that's 9. And what I don't know yet is if you get extra keys from completing all of your daily objectives as well, which would give you 12. I don't know that entirely yet, but it looks like it's probably around 6 days, if it's just 9 per member for a full squad to be able to launch these raids, which seems a little steep to me, to be honest. But let's go through it. They added this. I actually really like this. We kind of get the zoom out for the hearth here, and maybe possibly another feature here. These doors in the back. What could this be? I think this is the feature where you click on it, it shuts the game down and tells you to go outside and touch grass. But we'll see. I actually really like the layout of the raids they have here. You can see everything, right? So that's Chapter 1. We have Chapter 2, right? This is the tomb. And we've got the cave troll here. That's really awesome. And then we have Chapter 3 here, Blades in the Dark. My guess is that this is going to be some sort of sustain type situation, or we need to manage boons and banes in this situation. And then the last chapter here, of course, we have the Bridge of Khazad-dûm with the Balrog in here. So I really like that they have this kind of really sick... I mean, this is a terrific layout. Oh, we got some people up here. I really like the look of it. It looks very good. Okay. Let's click on this here. People are pretty confused right now at the moment. Oh, are you only allowed to use these characters? No. Click on the info button. Takes you to your collection. They have mentioned that you are going to be able to use any characters in your roster. There's no restrictions on characters, gear, star level, whatever. You can use everything for all 4 chapters of this first Mines of Moria raid, okay? There are no restrictions. They've confirmed that. It may be a little bit confusing here, but don't get it twisted. You can use any characters, no restrictions for all chapters of the Mines of Moria raid. That is CG official information, so don't worry about that there. And then you can basically choose your difficulty slider here. So this is for when you do your personal attempt. So you launch the raid, and then everybody can choose what difficulty they want to do for that particular battle that they're going to take in and whatnot. And so we can see that at difficulty 1, there's just a ×1 multiplier here. You get 100,000 points. That's your max. And they show recommended power here. Difficulty 2, this is now ×3, so 300 points. 300,000 points is the max. 16,000 power recommended. And then obviously there's going to be some upgrades, I think, to these particular characters here. And then this kind of keeps increasing, right? Up to a max of 2 million points here. Recommended power, 55,000. I think people are going to use their best teams and probably be trying 4 or 3. And then you're going to use your other kind of mid teams to do 2 and 1. So with that in mind, notice that there are these max points here. That's all going to contribute to your personal track. So let's go to rewards. So you click on rewards, and then the first tab is guild rewards. These don't show anything, so I can't tell you anything about them, but 1.4 billion points for this last crate here, which is a lot. And then personal rewards here is kind of this sliding scale. So, right, so if you have one team that maxes out at difficulty 1 for 100,000 points, you get 5k character XP and 15k gold. So that's one team maxing out at 100,000 points at difficulty 1. So that's probably something you could expect around that amount, probably more even still for people who just hit level 30 who've got new sort of teams. So don't expect that that's kind of the minimum rewards, but let's keep going. Here's the first time you get raid currency is at 175,000 points. This looks very Swiggo-esque here. This is the like normal raid currency, not the premium raid currency. And then if you keep going, you get some gems at 450,000 points. And we keep scrolling, and we keep scrolling, and we keep scrolling. The first time you get a Gandalf shard on your personal track is 2,001,755,000 points. And that does not include the premium raid currency, which is blue instead of gold. So let's go back and quickly take a look at the difficulty. So 2,175. So you're probably going to have to do, multiple attempts at this 3 and 4. Or, multiple attempts at 3, 4, and 5 to be able to get your personal track up to the level where you're starting to farm Gandalf shards. So one thing that's a little bit confusing to me that I don't know is, does your personal track also go chapter to chapter? And my guess is that, the answer is probably yes. So very much like the guild track, you finish chapter 1 and you're at a certain level for your guild track. Once chapter 2 is released, you don't get the rewards right away. You go into chapter 2 and keep boosting up your guild track. I think it's going to be the same for your personal track, but from the design, it kind of looks like you get to claim your rewards for your personal track before the raid is over, and that also would then keep building. I'm not 100% on that, but that's kind of what it looks like to me. But let's actually, I want to quickly go back and see if there are any... What's the end of this here? I mean, it probably can only go to 10 mil, right? Did we miss it? So we see some Gandalf rewards here. A little patch of Gandalf rewards. Okay, and then you start getting premium currency, 15 here at 5 mil. So you're probably going to be needing 3-ish teams. Again, this is just based on chapter 1 math. If it's the case that, at all 4 chapters, we're going to basically be able to get higher up here with lower tier teams because we're able to acquire points every single time. I'm not 100% sure on that. So don't quote me on that yet, but it looks like that might be the case. And then 10 million. No, maybe you have to do, maybe the personal track resets after every chapter because they've got a max of 10 million points here. Okay. You really got to be pushing to get these mithril coins here for the raid currency. Speaking of that, let's quickly go take a look at the store. Oops, not that store. Let's take a look at the raid currency store here. And so you use those mithril coins, the blue ones, as raid currency to get more Gandalf the Grey shards. These are multiples of each other. There's no bulk discount here. And then what else they've got in here is with those gold coins, you can get crystals. You can get various amounts of blue gear here. These are some of the uniques that you need for gear, getting to gear 8. And then importantly here, you need that blue currency for getting the essences. So these are nowhere else in the game at the moment. I'm pretty sure. And so you're getting those through this raid currency here. So you're gonna have to make choices on what you're gonna spend your raid currency on, either gear stuff or Gandalf shards. And eventually you're probably gonna also be putting stuff into epic ability materials. This is really gatekeeped. That's interesting. This is behind so much of this blue currency. The one thing we don't know is what the guild track rewards look like, whether that's going to also just give you some amount of currency, some of this blue currency at a much lower level. We don't know what that looks like at the moment. So let's actually, I just want to confirm something really quick on my roster. I don't know if they fixed the default sorting. I feel like they didn't, right? My Elra here is still down here. Yeah, default sorting did not get fixed, I guess. So let's click on Brute here. you can see we've got these purple pieces. This is to go to gear 8, right? And let's see if I can find these essences. Okay, so just Sam's journey and buying it in the raid store. Okay, so the gear is going to really be locked behind that. It'll be interesting to see how much that matters. Let's get to the main part of the video. Sorry, that was a big, long wind-up. I wanted to talk about all the aspects of the raid before I start theory crafting into it, right? But let's talk about that. So I'm going to stick with difficulty 3 because it appears to me that the thing that changes when you go up in difficulty is not so much the... that's so stupid that it does that. It's not so much the stuff here, like the adding more effects, but the damage amounts. So let's go through the kits really quick. This is the first guy, Moria Skullcrusher. Looks like a DPS sort of thing. First, he's got an ability, this Bone Breaker. This looks like it's basic. So it looks like they have basic, 2 specials, and like a passive of some kind. His basic is attack the target enemy for 150% damage and gain might for 1 turn. And then his special, attack all enemies for 170% damage and inflict slow for 1 turn. So an AoE slow already on this first guy. And then another AoE, attack all enemies for 160% damage. So sustain is probably going to be very important in this first chapter. When this character is summoned, excuse me, gain 1 stack of they're over here. That's some sort of buff. Plus all stacks of they're over here on the previous orc in this slot. Because remember, you're killing these orcs, and then basically it's an endless wave, and you get points for how many orcs you're killing, and if you kill multiple at the same time, you get more points. Gain 10% turn meter for each stack. When this unit uses an ability, gain a stack of they're over here. If this character is killed by damage from a Moria Bomber, lose 1 stack of they're over here. So being able to control their this turn meter gain here is going to be super important with the Moria Bomber, because basically what my interpretation of this is essentially, let's say you wipe out the whole field of orcs, right? They come in, they get all their stacks of their over here, and then that's basically going to give them some advance on turn meter, and that way you can't just endlessly control the raid by being in sort of like a loop where you can kill everything very quickly before they essentially get a turn. All right, so that's their AoE damage dealer guy. Let's look at Moria Mangler. Attack the target enemy for 150% damage and gain haste. So this is single target. He's putting haste on himself. Attack the target enemy for 2 times for 130% damage, inflict bleed. Attack the target enemy 2 times for 137 or 35% damage per hit. When this character is summoned, gain 1 stack. Okay, it's the same. What difficulty? Sorry, let me move over to difficulty 3 where I said I would be at. Okay, so that's a single target DPS character. This is Nuraz, Moria Shadow Seer. Amidst the chaos battle, reaching out to their allies. So this was probably the healer. Attack the target enemy. Cleanse 1 Bane from 1 random squad member. Summon up to 5 random Moria Orc allies. That's crazy. Okay, we're going to table that for a second. Heal all squad members for 700% health, for 700 health plus 18% of this character's max health, basically like a Pippin heal. Grant 3 random squad members 1 stamina. So what's important here is that we don't get to see when people's stuff is on cooldown. They're not showing it in this particular splash screen, so you're going to have to be in battle and basically looking at when people have things on cooldown or not. But my guess is that this skill is going to be especially important for the bomber. All right, Moria Firestarter. This is the bomber. Attack the target enemy for 250% damage and grant 1 stamina to 1 random ally. Grant Eagle Eye and advantage to all squad members. Inflict blind to 1 random enemy. This is not the bomber, sorry. Attack the target enemy for 220% damage and inflict burning. So this gives buffs to his enemy. This is kind of a support character, granting stamina, granting buffs. Blind is massive, so and burning. So you're gonna need cleanses on your team to control the the Banes. So the Rivendell squad, which we thought was going to be a pretty good raid team, is initially looking to shape up to be pretty good for this chapter 1. It's got that sustain. They've got sustain, they've got damage, they've got control, and they can do boons and banes, either resist them or being able to cleanse them with Arwen. This is the bomber. Yeah, here we go. Moria Bomber. Top knot. Attack the target enemy for 250% damage. Can I click on this at all? No, I can't. Gain 1 stack of Don't Rush Me. I don't like that that's clipped behind the character. Okay, it says reduce this character's speed by 50%. I can't read it. That's unfortunate. 50% does not stack. This character's ability Blast It is now available. Okay, so basically he goes... This is where he lights the bomb and then blast it. Oh, can we see it down here? Do you see it down here? No. Blast It. Attack all enemies for 880% damage. That's massive. For each stack of Don't Rush Me on this unit, this attack has a 10% chance to fail and attack the ally squad instead. Consume all stacks of Don't Rush Me and disable bombs away on this unit. This doesn't make sense to me. It says does not stack. And then this... That's really frustrating. You can't read the critical piece of text that is behind this character. Okay. So, on one hand, you need to get these stacks of Don't Rush Me to at least 10, right? So that it has a 100% chance to drop on their team and deal all this massive damage. But it doesn't say how to get Don't Rush Me except when he does Handle with Care. But why wouldn't it just do Handle with Care, gain 1 stack, and then this becomes available? Apparently you can get multiple stacks of Don't Rush Me. What's bombs away? Is that... I think there's a... This is... Okay, here's what my understanding is. It seems like... And we're going to maybe do a correction to this, but... Okay, basically he goes into Handle with Care. He gains 1 stack of Don't Rush Me. This reduces his speed by some set amount, 50% it looks like. The speed reduction does not stack. Each time you hit him while he's in this state of Handle with Care, my guess is he gains 1 stack of Don't Rush Me. At 10 stacks of Don't Rush Me, you basically guarantee that he's going to drop the bomb and hit his team for massive damage. And at that point in time, he consumes all those stacks and he disables, shouldn't say bombs away, it disables Blast It, which is the ability that he gets to be able to drop the bomb. And then he has to go and do one of these things again. Does that make sense? There's errors here and it's very unclear, but that is my initial interpretation and understanding. So we're going to go with that until I hear otherwise. Last character here. This has got to be some sort of tank or something. Attack the target enemy for 250% damage. Grant 15% turn meter to a random ally. Summon up to 5 random Moria orc allies. Attack the target enemy for 330% damage and reduce the enemy's turn meter by 30%. So actually there is no tank. So you're going to always be able to get to the bomber, which is actually really key. So you're not going to need to have any sort of dispel or ways to get around the tank for this particular chapter, at least for difficulty 3. We can take a look at some of the other stuff, the other difficulties in a moment here. So basically there are 2 characters, the drummer here and then the Nuraz-looking character who can summon up to 5 random Moria orc allies. Basically, that refills the empty slots with people you've killed. So it looks like you would be able to kill this guy and Nuraz, and then they wouldn't be able to summon any more orcs, right? And I think that's intentional. So the reason for that is that would basically end your run, because you're not getting refilled with more orcs to get more points, essentially, right? So you want to be able to control your damage on Nuraz and this War Drummer guy so that they can continue to summon more orc allies while also making sure that you can control their over here stacks. That is what makes sense to me. So, okay. 880% damage. We don't know how much health that's going to take away from these guys, but here's one possible strategy, right? You go in, you get one of these guys, probably, yeah, it probably doesn't matter, but one of them, or doesn't matter so far. War Drummer or Nuraz, you get them to below the threshold that you need to kill them with the bomber, and then the other guy you leave at full health. He drops the bomb after you've basically guaranteed that that's going to happen, right? He kills one of these guys. The other guy gets down to low health, but it hasn't been quite killed. He summons all of his allies back in again, and then you can kind of repeat. And so you're kind of, I think maybe the best strategy here is to kill half of the wave or a good chunk of the wave. And then making sure either the War Drummer or Nuraz or the Shadow Seer are still alive, right? At the end of the bomb drop, and then they can summon in more people. Then you can do the thing over again. So let's look at how, yeah. Here are the scoring rules. 5 points for every percentage of health lost by an enemy orc. Okay, so when you take an orc from 100 to 0, that is going to be 500 points. It looks like, I don't know if this is an additional 500 points or it's just restating the first one. I would imagine it's an additional 500. So basically, you get 1,000 points for every enemy orc you kill. Whenever 2 or more enemy orcs are defeated in a single turn, gave 2,500 points for every orc defeated this way. So at a minimum, that will be 5,000 points, and gain 2,500 points for every enemy orc defeated by an enemy Moria Bomber. So that is going to be big here. So again, if we ignore these last 2 points here, and we just think about difficulty 1, 100,000 points. And we divide that by 1,000. What is 100,000 divided by 1,000? It's 1,000. So you would need to kill 1,000 orcs to be able to max out the points there if you didn't take into account any of these other ways of doing this. So the real key to getting points in this chapter is going to be control. And you've got to make sure that you have the bomber at full 10 stacks. So what's going to be interesting, and I think this is going to be key here, if it works this way. If these stacks of Don't Rush Me stack with hits, right, then you actually want a bunch of attacks that do multiple hits, and then you can get stacks of Don't Rush Me really easily. So that means characters like Lomian actually become really vital for a Rivendell squad, right? Because a lot of his attacks are multi-hit. And so you can, with just one turn, you can get off, 3-4 stacks of Don't Rush Me easily. So you're going to want to save your multi-hit attacks, I imagine, for the bomber here, if that's the way it works. Okay, let's quickly check and see if there's any additional stuff. It looks like it's just changing it's just changing the values here. So it's not changing any of the mechanics itself. It's just scaling the difficulty, which is fine for a first chapter of a raid, actually. Let's get a handle on things and let's figure out how to do this the best way. Okay. So I think you're going to want to make sure that outside of these two, Nuraz and this guy, the War Drummer, you're going to want to make sure you control this guy. I think Skullcrusher is probably going to be the person that you want to try to take out with every single wave, right? Because it looks like he does a massive amount of damage, and he's essentially going to inflict this slow or do this massive AoE. And so I think you're going to want to essentially control him next after you control these other two. And then these other people... This is annoying, but he's probably the second highest damage dealer. Is that right? No. Oh, it's hard to tell because I switched to big difficulty. So then I think the second biggest person you want to probably control is actually going to be... That's the bomber guy. Is actually, yeah. Okay. It's going to be this guy. Moria Mangler here. And the reason I'm saying that is because he gets haste for himself for 2 turns. So he's going to be going a lot, which means that he's going to be able to do these skills a lot. And that means he's going to be building up their over here stacks. And so then when he's summoned in, he's going to be able to do instant single target damage and possibly just delete one of your characters. So just looking at this, it looks like the Rivendell elf team is going to be massively, massively good for this. I also think Isengard is going to be very, very good for this, especially with like the Isengard 4 plus IH, Isengard 4 being minus Moria. But even throwing Ironhide into the mix there is going to be really good because they have a lot of control. They're able to inflict a lot of Banes, and they have really good single target damage with Azak and Mauher. So they're going to be able to do that sort of thing. Plus they got AoE damage with Ironhide, and they've got a good amount of sustain with Dunhar. I think that's going to be a pretty decent setup. I don't know how good the Rohan team is going to be here. Rohan with Halbarad and like Strider. I think it's going to be okay. But healers, it looks like healers are definitely going to be at a premium for this chapter. You're going to want somebody who can give you that large amount of sustain so you can kill as many orcs as possible. It's going to be a balancing act of making sure that you get everybody down low enough, knowing what the health threshold is for the bomber to kill, and then getting a lot of people down very low so that when he does trip, he basically kills the whole team and you get maximum amount of points there. So there are 5 orcs on the enemy squad. So let's say you kill everybody on the enemy squad with the Moria Bomber dropping this. So then you get 1,000 points there. So you get 5,000 points. Then you would get 12,500 points there, right? And then another 12,500 points there. So that would put you at, so it's 25K points there, plus 5K. So it's 30K per wave that you can completely clear that way. But it doesn't seem like you want to do that because you want them to be able to re-summon. Unless that's not how it works. If you clear everybody, they get to just come back in no matter what. If that's the case, then the best strategy is going to be just clearing everybody at once. If not, you probably have to clear kind of like half teams. So 30,000 points per wave. Let's just do difficulty 3. What is 900,000 divided by 30,000? Let me do some math. 900, 1, 2, 3, divided by 30. So you want to be able to have 30 waves basically cleared to get max points for difficulty 3. That seems like a lot. I also know that they added an actual like timer in here as well. So this is going to be pretty hard. This is going to be a challenge. Definitely going to be a challenge. And from the reward track, let's take a look at that again, and then we'll finish up the video. Again, another rambling, long video. I'm sorry, but this is actually a lot to cover, I feel like. So let's do some math. Let's bring up the calculator. Okay. So, got 7,500 plus 7,500. I should be able to just do this math in my head, but plus 7,500. Okay, so that's 22.5K. And then plus 8,750. Plus 10 plus 10K. So at this point, this point right here, you have 51K in gold. Plus another 10K. Okay, I misunderstood earlier. It's basically, this is for each attempt, I think. Right? No, it's not. It's for all of your attempts. Okay, plus let me add these. $600,000. I'm going to stop at 900,000. I'm going to stop right here. Let's add that. Okay. So if you get 1 million points with all 5 of your attempts, that is 121K. That's this seems like it's going to be pretty hard to get for most players. Like this will be an upper end for a lot of players, and whales might be pushing closer to between 1 and 2 mil at the start here. And you get 121K for chapter 1. They did say the rewards were going to be increased, but that really doesn't seem like enough for doesn't really seem like enough is what I'm gonna frankly be. Yeah, that's sort of my conclusion. I was hoping that we're gonna get somewhere around 250K for doing like a really seriously good job, and it doesn't seem like that's the case. This is of course without the guild reward boxes. We don't know what's in there. Let's think about this. 1,000 points, that should be 1 million points should be easy. I think basically one person should be able to get that. Oh, and it's set so low that basically even lower end guilds are going to be able to get this, because look at the next jump, 72 million points. So 72 million divided by 36 is 200. 1, 2, 3. It's 2 million per person. So it seems like for this first chapter, the higher end guilds are going to be shooting for this. Definitely this crate. It'd be really nice if we could see the rewards. All right, here are my final thoughts. I think for a first chapter, for the first raid, these are actually decently interesting mechanics. It seems like it spans of various difficulty levels that will be approachable for everybody. I really like that they copied that sort of crate design. I love the layout here. I love that you can select your own difficulty slider. It's great that we have 2,000 instead of 2,500. But here's where I'm not entirely happy. The fact that we only have 9 keys, it looks like 9 keys per daily like objectives that we get per member means that dailies are going to become really important and activity is going to become really important. And literally it seems like one person can basically stop you from being able to run this raid once a week. And I'm also a little bit annoyed that they didn't give us enough keys to launch this the first time. Also, the rewards, at least on the personal track side, seem a little bit lackluster for my taste on this type of thing. It's going to be a nice additional gold income, but again, this is going to be happening once a week if your guild is super active. Less than that if it's not super active. So I'm not as pleased as I wanted to be, frankly. So I hope that things improve a little bit and that we get some more feedback. It's also incredibly frustrating that the most important mechanic in the raid is clipped behind the character model for the bomber. I don't like that. But let me know what you think. I'm still very excited for raids, but there's definitely some negatives here. And I'm a little disappointed in some of these aspects. There's some good and some bad. But thanks for watching.